Hello and welcome to another Stories of Nature challenge. Today I'll do 2 stories to catch up because I've not been getting out because of the bad weather, but we're going to be going sledding as well later on. The first one is a Czech fairy tale about birch. At Balnamoon at the end of the month we'll be tapping the birch trees, and that means you drill a little hole, and as the sap rises in the birch trees, you can extract it, and it's got all this lovely minerals and things in it, and you can boil it down to make a really lovely syrup. This is the story of the Lady in White. Every day, from spring until autumn, Beth took her flock of sheep to graze near a grove of birches. In her pocket was a spindle for spinning flax into thread, but she preferred to roam and explore the woods. Sometimes she went down to see what new wildflowers had bloomed in the meadow, and occasionally she would make up a little dance, just for the fun of it, and twirl about under the trees. One spring day, a beautiful woman suddenly appeared before her. She had long blonde hair and was dressed in a silky white dress, and she wore a wreath of flowers on her head. "I see you like to dance," said the woman. "Oh yes," said Beth. "I could dance the whole day, but my mother has given me the flax to spin." "Tomorrow is another day," said the lady. "Come and dance with me, I'll teach you some steps." So Beth leapt up and joined the lady, laughing and singing. They danced through the trees and out into the field. So light were their steps that the grass was neither trampled nor bent. Near evening the lady vanished, and as suddenly as she had appeared. Beth gathered her flock and headed homeward. When her mother asked about her spinning, she pretended to have misplaced the spool. She said nothing about the Lady in White. The next day, Beth went back to the same place, this time determined to do her spinning. Again, the lady appeared. "Will you dance?" "I cannot. I must do my spinning, or else my mother will be angry with me. If you will dance with me, I'll help you to spin." So once again, Beth joined the lady. Together they danced through the day. Near sunset, the beautiful lady smiled, waved her arms, and just like magic, the spool was filled with fine linen thread. That evening, Beth's mother was pleased to see the thread, but still Beth said nothing about the dancing. The third day, the Lady in White was waiting for Beth near the woods. They danced as never before, pirouetting and curtsying, skipping and swooping, whirling and laughing, skimming over the ground as lightly as the wind. When the day was over, the Lady in White spun the flax again. "You are a fine dancer, Beth. I've enjoyed myself." And she handed Beth a pouch with a mysterious pattern embroidered on it. "Take good care of this," said the lady. Beth peeked inside and saw it was filled with dry yellow birch leaves. When Beth arrived home, she gave her mother the new spool of thread. This time, her mother looked at it more carefully. "Where did you get this from? Surely you did not spin it yourself." So Beth told the whole story of meeting up with the beautiful lady dressed in the long white dress. "Why, Beth, that was the wild lady of the birch grove. It's very good luck to meet up with her. She taught me some wonderful dances," exclaimed Beth. "And look, she gave me this pretty little pouch filled with old birch leaves." But when Beth emptied out the pouch for her mother, her mouth fell open with astonishment. The birch leaves were made of solid gold. This is a funny little story about the mole who knew it was none of his business. Moles at this time of year actually don't hibernate. They are very blind, as we know, and territorial, and rarely seen. It's mostly the molehills that we see, but not at the moment with all the snow on the ground. But the hills are the evidence of them eating. It's all these feeding holes and tunnels that they make. But at the moment, rather than making a lot of molehills, they tunnel really deep down to get all these lovely insects and worms that will be a little bit further down than usual. They tend to dig deeper underground and stay below the frost line, eating loads of bugs. The story of the little mole who knew it was none of his business. One day, little mole poked his head out from underground to see, but the sun had already risen. Then it happened. Blip! It looked like a little sausage, and the worst thing was it landed right on his head. "How mean!" cried the little mole, who's done this on my head? But he was so short-sighted that he couldn't see anyone around. "Did you do this on my head?" "Me? No, how could I do it like this?" And splish, splish, a moist white blob landed right on the ground next to the little mole. "Did you do this on my head?" he asked the horse who was grazing in the pasture. "Me? No, how could I do it like this?" And flop, plop, 5 big, fat, horsey apples plopped down within a hair's breadth of the mole. He was very impressed. "Did you do this on my head?" he asked the hare. "Me? No, how could I? I do it like this. A rat-a-tat-tat. 15 little round beans shot past the mole's ears." "Did you do this on my head?" he asked the goat, who had been dreaming a little. "How could I?" he asked, and plippity-plop, a pile of toffee-coloured little balls tumbled on the grass. The little mole found them almost appealing. "Did you do this on my head?" he asked the cow. "Me? No, how could I? I do it like this," and splosh! A big brownish-green pancake flopped into the grass next to the mole. He was very relieved that it hadn't been the cow that had done something on his head. "Did you do this on my head?" he asked the pig. "Me? No, how could I? I do it like this," and plop, splat! A soft brown pile fell onto the grass. The mole held his nose. "Did you do this on my head?" He was going to ask again, but as he came closer he saw only 2 big fat flies that they were eating. "At last someone who will be able to help me," said the mole. "Who did this on my head?" he asked excitedly. "Keep nice and still," buzzed the flies. There was a short pause. Then, "It is clear it was a dog." Finally, the little mole knew who had done the business on his head. Basil, the butcher's dog. Quick as a flash, he climbed onto Basil's kennel, and bling! A tiny black sausage landed right on top of the dog's head. Satisfied at last, little mole disappeared happily into his hole underground. I think we're going to disappear into our hole underground too now. Thank you very much for watching the Stories in Nature challenge. I hope you've enjoyed all the stories as much as I have telling them. If you want, I have a little project for you. A writing project. Why don't you write your own story? Adopt a tree, a place, or an object in nature. It could even be a pond or just a special place to you in nature. As long as it's somewhere that you're able to visit on a regular basis nearby, and You can record your visits in a variety of ways, just like I tell the stories. So you can draw pictures of the trees, how the weather changes in that place. But you can also write about your thoughts and feelings at the time and change in yourself. Like, has your hair got longer? Are you in a good mood at the time? Has something special happened to you that day? I will do the same thing. I'll adopt a few things, maybe my apple tree in my small orchard, because I'd like to know whether it blossoms into apples this year, so I'll be keeping an eye on that.